I wasn't going to make a part 4 to this video, but when I saw how laughably bad the views dropped, I'm going to make a part 4 just in spite of it. But I think that's great because when you shake the tree a little bit, the people who remain to watch are a lot easier to get along with. So I made a really long and thorough video that is really interesting actually about how to use polyurethane, and it was kind of supposed to be the final part, but I'm going to title it something different. So let's finish this project here. I've so far finished it with 2 coats or sessions of semi-gloss polyurethane and sanded it nice and smooth, and I'm ready to give it my last coat before I put it in, and I'm going to use that white stuff to give it a bottom. If you think you're sick of this thing after 3 videos, imagine how I feel after 3 coats of polyurethane. You know what, let's just skip this part of the process altogether. This is kind of a neat product. It's just thin white recycled plastic. Comes in a 4x8 sheet, real cheap, I think something like 10 bucks. And I think this will do nicely. I don't know if you've been following the plot closely or not, but did you ever have one of those projects where something happens that's just beyond your control, and what was supposed to be a 2-day project ends up taking, like 3 weeks? But normally that's not so bad, but when it's something like a hole where your silverware drawer used to be, that can really, it can affect your home life. Of course, it says to store it flat, but really, who's going to do that? I'm marking it out just so I don't make any measuring mistakes. But I will measure it and reduce it and make sure it's square. This is one of those products where you start to think of all sorts of applications, things that I would love to put it on, but I never get around to it. It's a really cool idea though. This is that hatchet blank. Still no splits in the ends. So I made a pretty good preparation. Okay, 19 3/16. Along each dimension, I will reduce it 1/16 of an inch. When you do this sort of stuff, make sure it's flat and straight, or else it will alter your measurement. Just a little bubble can make all the difference when it's something tight tolerance. I have to be honest, I have messed up my share of expensive materials in my life. But usually it's not as bad as you think. The most expensive thing I've ever messed up was a 10-foot long piece of oak bullnose that was special order. And I was about sick when I messed it up. But it turned out to not be as big of a deal as I thought. That's usually how it ends up. I was able to make use of the piece anyway, through some cleverness. What a cool product. My point was that with time, you'll develop confidence with expensive materials and you'll choke less and destroy less. But if you haven't had time and you already have confidence, that's called arrogance. And then you might end up ruining materials anyway. I guess you have to find the correct balance. Oops. Now that you and I are both over our fear of cutting things, let's modify this. The only thing expensive on this piece of cabinetry is this front face. It's a piece of maple. This is just a piece of saggy particle board, so I don't mind drilling some holes in it. It has been suggested from some reputable sources that these silverware partitions get annoying because things can go underneath. So I would like to fasten a screw to this, from this, and through the white stuff. And I'll do one here and here. First thing I did was measure from the top to the floor, and then I measured from the bottom to the floor on the other side, and what was left was my thickness, which is close to 1/4 inch. That means these will have to be sunk in within 1/4 inch. I've used this pilot, and I've purposely drilled them slightly off center and run them deeper than I would, just to see and test to make sure nothing's going to split. The other trick that I have up my sleeve is that when I put the actual ones that matter in, I'll put soap on the threads just to reduce the friction. Just a block of plywood. Now I can put this on the corner, and it should close the gap right there. Now this piece of scrap will tell me where I want to make my hole. Right in the middle. No, I probably won't screw it up. The plan is to leave it upright, and then hopefully I can squash it together this way and just make a scratch from the backside with the drill bit. There's no reason to drill any deeper than this tape. As a bar of soap ages, it stops sticking to the threads. I'm due for a new chunk. One side of this stuff is definitely easier to clean than the other, so choose wisely. Back to my old sharp and junky screwdriver. I want to mark that white plastic because I want to drill a hole in it that's slightly bigger than this hole. The reason for that is because I don't want the white plastic to bind up or jam up or wrinkle. I want to give it a little bit of flexibility. Well, that's frustrating. And just to further complicate things, now we've given this piece of white plastic a front and a back. When you're using a countersink in plastic, you want to favor more pressure, less speed. I really hope this is the last time I have to take this thing in or out for this video series. That worked out really well. All right. There is no way that anything is getting under there. And I also have these. These are sacrificial. So that way the knife can poke against it all at once and I can just take it out if it gets too banged up. I also made those for these back ones because we like to use this. Well, Mrs. Pocket will certainly be pleased with this. And I hope you're pleased with this. because I'm pleased with this, I'm glad to be done. So thanks a lot for joining me, and I'll see you on the next project. This is great. Remember, the goal was never to end entropy, but to give it a place to go.